Greetings, loved ones, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to another lessons learned video. Today we are doing 23 lessons for 23 years, and I have done these types of videos since my 20th birthday, and they're so much fun. I love watching these. This is my favorite yearly video to film. Today, when this video is going up on Tuesday, March 24th, I'm turning 23. Yes! Happy birthday to me. So some of these lessons are obviously in my own words, but a lot of these lessons I've learned from books I love or people that I admire. And so I'll be quoting some peeps in this video today. All right. Also, my dog scratched my boob. Love it. Let's just freaking get into them. The first lesson pertains to this quote from Clarissa Pinkola Estes, or Estes. She wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves, and this is a quote from that book. Later, I'll do that dance, planting, hugging, finding, planning, learning, peacemaking, cleansing, ... later. Traps all. And what she means by that is, like, when you're constantly putting off your joy because you're too busy with this person, or you're too busy with work things, or you're running around with your kiddos, like, you get stuck in this trap, right? Of just, oh no, I don't have time to sit down and plan my garden, or no, I don't have time to sit down and do a painting, even though I love painting. Like, once you get into that loop of, oh, later I'll do that thing, I'll write that poem, I'll feed my joy, it just becomes such a trap of just constantly trying to, like, get all of the necessities done, but not feeding your soul, if that makes sense. So one of my biggest lessons of the past year, just pertaining to that quote, is just feeding my soul drives, like being able to read and taking time to do that, and taking time to write, and just like go outside and soak up the sun, and not putting it off until later, because then it never gets done, right? So yes, number one was a quote from one of my favorite books, and number two is also a quote from one of my favorite books. Robin Wall Kimmerer wrote a book called Braiding Sweetgrass, but there's a quote in that book that says, "The abundance of earth is not an invitation to take it all." And I feel like that's such a lesson that I learned last year too, is like, don't take more than you need from when you're outside foraging or when you're shopping at the store, like whatever is on this earth. Don't take too much because everybody else needs it too. Other species other than you, other people other than you. And I feel like we're really seeing this quote proven to be true right now with everything happening during quarantine and with coronavirus and all these types of things. Everybody is like bulk shopping in a bad way and like taking way too much. Like, I love a good bulk shop. You guys know that. But I always leave stuff behind for other people as well. So just don't take too much, I guess, is the overall lesson. Lesson number three is there's a difference between empathy and enabling. And I feel like this is just such a lesson that we learn in relationships. When people have issues, either in their life or in their relationships, and they're just complaining to you to complain, and you're listening with empathy and being like, I feel your pain, here's what I would do to fix the situation, or maybe some helpful advice for solutions. And I feel like listening and providing advice and answers is like providing empathy for the situation and being a shoulder to cry on and stuff like that. But then enabling is just like sitting there while your friend is complaining about the same motherfucker that she's been having issues with for the past year, and you're still saying the same things, and just enabling that pain for longer rather than saying something is the mistake, you know? So in those types of situations, I'm always like, all right, here, if you need the brutal honesty, here, I will provide it for you. You know what I mean? So that specific lesson could be taken whatever way you interpret it. But yes, empathy and enabling, they're two very different things, but I feel like sometimes they get wrapped up together for whatever reason. Lesson number four is every time we spend money, we make a statement about what we value. And I feel like when people spend, they don't really think about it in that way. I'm sure that some people think about that with every purchase that they make, and obviously it's a practice to remember this, but yeah, just giving your dollar to companies that actually have good value is great. And I mean like moral value, like they're doing a good thing, like shopping local small businesses, supporting companies who have a sustainable way of producing their products. Like there's a way to go about buying your necessities or what you want that's also being like, yeah, I value these things, so I'm gonna put my money into that specific practice. Lesson number 5 is a quote from Brené Brown. She has this Netflix special. If you just search Brené Brown, it's great. So she has this one quote that says, "If you're not in the arena getting your ass kicked on occasion because you are being brave, I'm not interested or open to your feedback about my work." Which I feel like is something that I relate to so hard because, you know, the arena could be anything. It could be your workspace. It could be this online space. Like if you're not out here doing the work, sharing these things about yourself, being vulnerable online for the benefit of others, hearing an opinion that is the same as theirs or an experience that is the same as theirs and makes them feel less alone. Like if you're not doing that, if you're not being brave in your own life, I'm not interested in hearing your shit talk about what I do. You know what I mean? Like you're not out here doing this. You don't understand what it's like. So that really helped me just like kind of understand who to listen to when we talk about constructive criticism and just like taking things in from people online. We got a lot of quotes at the beginning lessons here. So lesson number 6 is another quote from a book that was one of my faves that I read last year. It's called The Game of Desire, and it's basically just about dating and like getting yourself out there. And even aside from dating, because I'm not in the dating pool, I felt just like so heard with the things that she was discussing. She just talked a lot about like desire and seduction and these kinds of separate things. She's great. Shan Boudram, love you so much. She's a YouTuber. She wrote that book, and she has this quote in the book that I really enjoyed as well. And she says, "When people say relationships take work, they are talking about the inevitable misalignments that occur when 2 or more people try to share one life. What they're not talking about is all the unnecessary drama, unreturned texts, and lackluster sex that result from picking up floor scraps because you don't feel worthy of joining the dating feast." And I just love that quote because when it comes to relationships taking work, we're not talking about like the petty drama and stupid stuff of unreturned texts like she's saying, or like the ghosting and ignoring. And you shouldn't try to justify a horrible relationship that's taking so much out of you. I did that so many times in the past just because I didn't want to like put on my big girl pants. That's such a weird quote. Why do we say that? Put on my big girl pants and go out and join the actual dating feast of people who will, you know, feed my soul and listen to me. Like, why do we just ignore all of the bad signs because we're like, well, relationships take work. He's fighting for me and I'm fighting for him, or whatever pronouns, you know, it's like, just so frustrating. So love that quote. Keep that in mind. There is a difference between emotional work and vulnerable work with your partners and just unnecessary drama that you don't need in your life. Lesson number 7 is not everyone has the emotional capacity for vulnerable or honest conversations. And this is something that I see proven to be true time and time again. You know, when you like try to get real with somebody and I don't even know, just like try to open them up a little bit and talk about something a little deeper, a little bit more vulnerable, and they just like completely shut down or immediately change the topic. Or the worst case scenario, personally for me, I feel like this is a worst case scenario, is when they go on this like long tangent and they think that they're agreeing with you and getting it, but you're listening to them like, no, you're not getting it. You're just simply, no, that's not what I meant at all. So I'm seeing this is going over your head. I guess you're not the type of person to talk to about these kinds of things. So obviously all relationships are different and some people have more depth in that realm than others. And some people are just like fun to hang out with and be around, but they don't have that kind of capacity for vulnerability, at least not with you. Maybe they have it with somebody else, but you can't just like immediately get deep with everybody, which is something that just proves to be true time and time again for me. But it's fine. Like, you need to be having those conversations with people who do understand. Lesson number 8 is co-inhabiting a space is a practice of give and take and finding your rhythm for your relationship, your household, whether this be with a partner or a roommate. I just feel like the biggest lesson learned is like the give and take. Like, if I do this dirty thing, you have to do that dirty thing. Or when it comes to timing and scheduling and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, you're going to work at this time? Okay, I'll film then. It's just like staying in the know and trying to make the living space as good as it can be, and just like making sure everybody is fulfilling their deeds, you know, their chores. Can you get Rouge? She's being really annoying and crying and scratching at the door, and I don't want her to come in. Exhibit A. Okay, lesson number 9. Finding a workout routine that works for you is a bit like finding a partner. I had to be in the right headspace. And basically what I mean by this is every other time that I've tried to get into a workout routine and I've been in the wrong headspace, wrong being, oh, I want to work out because I don't like my body, those types of things, where it's a toxic entry into the workout routine, it never lasts. And so that's what I mean about, like, you know, entering a relationship or something like that, or finding your partner when you have a bad headspace and then it crumbles at the seams and doesn't last for long. Like, that's why I compared the two. Maybe an interesting comparison to make, but I felt like it's relevant because now that I've entered a workout routine where I had a healthy mindset going into it, and I said this in a vlog when I first started working out like 8 weeks ago, and I was like, I'm doing this again, but I really want to set the intention at the beginning of like, I'm doing this to make myself stronger and healthier and happier, not because I don't like X, Y, and Z about myself, because that never lasts. Or, oh, I'm starting because I just want to look good in a bikini, and then you wear the bikini and then you forget about working out. You know what I mean? So yeah, just entering into it with like a peaceful mindset has really helped me personally. And I've stayed consistent for the past 8 weeks. It's been great. I've been like consistently working out 3 to 4 times a week, which is longer than any other time I've tried. So at least I'm sticking this year. Okay, number 10 is gardening has taught me more about the environment than any book has. And I mean like environmental books. Like, you could sit and read that stuff for as long as you mentally can, but actually going out and getting my hands dirty and like seeing and smelling and touching the world around me has helped me learn so much more about the environment and plants than any book ever could. Giving you that sweet experience, baby. Love it. And lesson 11 also has something to do with gardening as well. Growing my own food has fueled a deep interest and passion for the plants that grow naturally around me, in parentheses, identification and foraging. So basically just like being out in the garden and seeing what grows well around here has fueled so much more of a passion for me, walking around the trails behind my house and seeing all of these natural growing plants and mushrooms and just all of these things. It's like fueled my desire to know what they are and what they do and their medicinal benefits. And all of that has happened as a result of me starting a garden. Like, I just have a deep love for plants now. It's fantastic. Gotta love it. I made a whole video about starting your own garden, and that was my last upload. So I'll link it on the screen if you guys missed it or are interested. Number 12 is working from home is a privilege. And obviously I always was aware of this to a certain extent in the past while I had an online job, and literally most of my other friends were out in the workforce, like working at cafes or whatever it might be. But just right now, with everything happening and everybody losing their jobs as a result of quarantine and corona, that has just made me so much more aware of my privilege that I get to work from home. Also, I saw Chris Clements do this and I loved the idea so much. But comment down below if you own a small business, where it's located, what your social media is, if you have it for that specific business. Just comment the info down below so we can all check you out, support you during this time. Okay, number 13 is also kind of in the realm of work stuff, but online work is still work, and I shouldn't feel bad asking for payment for content. And this is something that I was really grappling with when I first started my Patreon, because obviously so much of my stuff that I've been putting out for the past X amount of years has always been free. So when I started my Patreon, I was doing it because I was getting demonetized on a specific sex temper series that I was doing. I just don't like how skittish I was at the beginning to start the platform, because people are happy to support what I do. And this being said, this is something that I was also grappling with yet again when I was thinking about the idea of moving my WeedTube videos onto my Patreon, because the tea is that WeedTube hasn't paid me since October for the content that I was posting on there. Don't know where the money is, don't know why they were withholding it, but still haven't gotten it, and it's March. So I was talking about this on a live stream recently, and I guess this is kind of my formal announcement of this. I've been getting a lot of DMs like, where are you? Why aren't you uploading to the WeedTube? And it's like, because I don't want to support a platform that's not paying its creators. So that's what's happening currently, and I was really nervous about just sharing the fact that I'm going to be putting that on my $5 Patreon tier now, because that's where I already post my video content on there, and I just feel like it's fair to keep it that way. And I was just so nervous to be like, hey, if you want to see this, now you have to pay for it, you know? But at the same time, it takes me hours of work to do that kind of stuff. So I've kind of reworked that part of my brain this past year, and it's been beneficial. Number 14 is homesteading is hard ass work, brothers. And that is something that I've learned so much in the past years since I've moved to Oregon in 2018. I really started to transition to a more sustainable homesteading, living off the land kind of a life. And although I love it so dearly, it feeds my soul deeply, it is hard ass work. And I understand that not everybody has the time to make their own cashew milk or make their own veggie broth or do these other sustainable alternatives. I understand. And so when I am doing it, I'm like, damn, this does take a lot out of me. But at the same time, the benefits of it are so fantastic. So this is just kind of a lesson of yes, it's hard work, but it just pays off in the end kind of a thing. And it's worth it to me. And I'm so happy that I've gotten into that branch of life, because I feel like it will sustain me for many years, you know? Lesson number 15 is kind of one I was laughing at when I wrote it, because I was just like, ain't this the truth? But the ability to read a room / practice self-awareness is a gift that not everyone has. And that kind of goes back to the ability for people to have vulnerable conversations lesson that I said earlier. But have you ever been in a room with somebody who just makes such an unaware comment, and you're like, dude, can you not read the room right now? It really goes over people's heads sometimes that they shouldn't say certain things because of the space that they're in, or the people that they're around, or the time that's happening right now. I just feel like this is so true right now with what's going on. I know I've said this so many times, but just what's going on in our climate currently and in our world. I just feel like I've seen so much stuff online that's ooh, so insensitive. Please think about literally anybody other than yourself. Okay, and speaking of thinking about only yourself, lesson number 16 just talks about how much I love getting shit done by myself. And so this lesson is, don't become so reliant on self-sufficiency that you can't ask for help. Because I just feel like this is so true for myself. If something is dirty or if something needs to be fixed, I'm like, I need to do that, you know? I'm gonna go about that, get that done. For example, the hole that's still in my kitchen ceiling. It frustrates me so much that I cannot fix it myself, and then I have to ask for help because I don't know how to fix fucking drywall, sheetrock, whatever it's called. I don't know how to do that stuff. And so yes, it can be oftentimes frustrating for me to step down off of my self-sufficient horse and be like, someone else take the reins. I can't do this. You know what I mean? Sorry for the accent, just kind of comes out at times. Anyways, lesson number 17, let's speed these up. Taking yourself on dates is underrated. Love it so much. Love to take myself to the movies, love to go out and grab a bite to eat by myself, love doing it with Finley as well, but taking time for yourself, ooh, so underrated. Lesson 18 is also kind of talking about self-nourishment, but nourish your inner child more. In parentheses, playing, jumping, rolling around. It sounds so silly when I say it out loud, but it's so true. Like the other day, Finley and I were just playing with a hula hoop in our yard for like an hour, and it was the highlight of my week. Definitely the highlight of my quarantine, but it was so much fun. And for my 23rd birthday party that got postponed due to social distancing, which it's for the best. For that, I was going to have like a game night where we do like relay races and just do stuff that my younger self used to find such joy in. And just thinking of those things during this time, I think is so great, because you're like, wow, this is what life is all about. Rolling around in the grass and jumping on the trampoline and playing in sprinklers, you know? Oh, so underrated. We love it. Lesson 19 is herbalism and natural remedies shouldn't make you reject science/medicine, modern medicine. So what I mean by this is, you know, I'm all for a nice natural remedy. I'm all for herbalism. I love it so much. But at the same time, it shouldn't come as a rejection to the absolute advancements that we have had in the realm of science. This is also just a lesson in like, hey, you can't fix everything yourself. And sometimes it's okay to give the problem over to a trained medical professional who knows how to handle it. And I just feel like so many people have a hard time doing that. So don't take it too seriously. You can play in both worlds. It's not all or nothing. Number 20 is also kind of in the realm of like healthcare things, but healthcare in itself, physical and mental health, it's not one size fits all. So just because something works for you doesn't mean it's gonna work for another person. This also pertains to like substance and stuff like that might help certain people, and medications that might help certain people. So I just feel like it's important when you recommend like remedies or suggestions to people, just to make it known like, hey, I love this and it's really benefited me in X, Y, and Z ways, but you need to figure it out for yourself if this is a beneficial thing for you to be taking or doing and implementing into your life. So not just like blindly thinking that it's gonna help everybody. Number 21 is kind of like a love language lesson for me personally, but I'm thinking of you gifts/acts should be a regular practice. And I mean that for things that I'm giving and also receiving back. I just feel like it's so fun to be able to like write somebody even a letter for their birthday and being like, hey, I was thinking of you. I hope you really had a great day or something, or like baking them cookies and sending them to their house or something, or bringing them over. It's like little acts of service of just, hey, I'm thinking of you. I filled up the gas tank in the car or something like that. I love doing that stuff and I love receiving that stuff. So I just feel like that should be more of a practice in our lives. Like just be kind, be giving when you can. Love it. Okay, number 22 is, probably my most recent lesson, but being mean to yourself won't help you get there faster. And this lesson kind of pertains to physical growth when it comes to working out. At the beginning of when I started working out, even though I had those great intentions, I did have days where I would look at myself in the mirror and be really mean to myself and be like, you need to work harder because you need to look different, or if you work harder it will come faster, these results that you've been wanting, or something. Like I would just pick myself apart in the mirror. And it wasn't until I mentioned this to my partner and then I mentioned it to my therapist that I actually started like working through it. And I'm so happy that I mentioned it to my therapist, because she kind of just keeps me on track now and is like, hey, are you still doing that? Here's some ideas of things that you could do to nourish your body and things that you can say to make yourself feel better, rather than ripping yourself apart and being like, need results now. Like that will absolutely get you nowhere except really sad. You know, like that's the only place it's gonna take you, is to a sad place. So just be kind, take the time, do the work, and you'll see results whenever they come, but don't like immediately think that they're gonna happen. All right, and lesson number 23 in my final lesson is spend more time laughing, which maybe is a cliche lesson to say, but I just feel like in this past year, laughter has been my biggest medicine. It's always been a medicine in my life, but I've just been noticing it so much more with just like funny ass people in my life. And my sister and my best friend Nevin are so these types of people, to where like every interaction I have with them just makes me like cry laughing. And just having those moments in your relationships, like when Finley and I laugh so hard together that I'm like crying and like on the verge verge of peeing my pants. That's just the best ever. You know, I want that feeling all the time. I want to be laughing so hard that my abs get sore, you know? Love that stuff. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed these lessons learned for my 23 years of being alive, man. I love reflecting back on these videos and just seeing how my lessons vary and how I still value certain things that I learned in past years, and they're just so much fun. So I'll link on the screen a playlist of these past videos if you want to go and watch some of the other ones. But if you enjoyed this video, please go to big thumbs up for me, subscribe to my channel if you're not already, ring the notifications bell if you'd like to be notified when I upload. You can become a patron of mine to support my earnings for this month. And until my next video, stay smiling. Bye guys.